بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على النبي الكريم وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all, dear brothers and sisters, dear friends, dear family. I pray you're having a blessed Ramadan. And we ask that these first 10 days that are said to be the days of rahmah, the days of divine compassion, of divine love, that we are receiving greater and greater and greater shares of divine love, of divine compassion, of rahmah, and that we are being compassionate towards others, that we are being loving and merciful towards others. Today, we're still in the section of a Treasury of Rumi titled, Who Are We? The Origin and the Nature of the Human Being. Who are we? The origin and the nature of the human being. And today, in our third class, we'll be learning about the human microcosm. The human microcosm. Rumi often talks about Imam Rumi, rahmatullah alayh, the great Imam, the great leader of spirituality, master spirituality, Muhammad Jalaluddin Rumi. He often, refers to what's known as the microcosm and the macrocosm. The macrocosm generally is understood to refer to the universe, all the galaxies and all the stars and all the planetary systems and the universe and the observed universe. And the microcosm refers to the human being. Macro is the big universe, the big cosmos, and the human being is the small cosmos. And they're each a reflection of the other. The human being is really a small version, if you want to look at it from the physical, a smaller version of everything that's in the universe. And the universe is a larger version of what's in the human being. Now, there are some scholars, some spiritual masters in the Muslim tradition that actually reverse this. And they look at really the human being from a spiritual perspective as being the large universe. And the observed universe with all of its galaxies and planetary systems as being the small universe from the physical. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So our selections today are from Rumi's work, Fihi ma fihi, In It Is What Is In It, the discourses of Rumi, and Signs of the Unseen. He says, may God have mercy upon him and benefit us through his knowledge, through his life, through his legacy, and elevate his rank. A human being is something vast. Listen to this, brothers and sisters. A human being is something vast. All things are inscribed within him. Yet veils and darknesses will not let him read the knowledge that he has inside him. The veils and darknesses are these various preoccupations, schemes, and worldly desires. Yet, despite all these things being hidden in darknesses, concealed behind those veils, man or woman is able to read something and is aware of it. Consider how aware he becomes and what knowledge he discovers in himself when the darknesses and veils are removed. After all, trades like tailoring, building, carpentry, goldsmithing, science, astronomy, medicine, and so on. Countless different trades were discovered within humankind, not inside rocks or clouds of earth. Now, it is said that a raven instructed man to bury the dead in a grave. That too was a reflection of human intelligence, which came to the bird rather. It was an expression of human need that prompted him to do it. It's a very subtle point he's making. It was an expression of human need that prompted him to do it, meaning the bird. For animal nature is merely part of human nature. How could the partial teach the whole? So there's a lot here, and in the short time we have, I hope that I can share some of my reflections upon these words that are just pregnant with meaning, that are full of lessons for us to gain clarity about who we are. This month of Ramadan is about discovering the universe that's inside of you. This month of Ramadan is about discovering, exploring the universe that's inside of you, exploring outer space, exploring the physical universe requires billions of dollars, tremendous amounts of dedication and the spending of energy and wealth and time. But exploring the universe that's in here is absolutely free. Costs nothing except one thing. Exploring the ego that's inside of you requires that you give up your self-centeredness, that we give up our selfishness, that we give up our self-importance. It requires that we give up our I-ness, our individualism, not our individuality, but our individualism, the belief that me and my wants and my desires, my ambitions, my projects, my family, my community, my mosque, my church, my temple, my organization, anything that's related to or connected to or that serves me is the most important thing. All of these are manifestations of the self. I'm going to do my very best to use as much English as possible since this is going to be published on a platform that's accessible to not just Muslims, but people of many different religious traditions and some of no religious tradition. So we're here in this month of Ramadan, the 9th month of the Muslim calendar, to really launch a new exploration of the universe that's inside, this universe that Rumi, that Imam, the great Rumi, says is vast. This reminds me of a saying that's attributed to the great sage, the cousin and the son-in-law and the fourth political successor of Prophet Muhammad, God bless him and grant him peace, the great Ali, the son of Abu Talib, who is reported to have said, you, human being, you consider yourself to be an insignificant, small body. But on the contrary, the entire universe, the entire cosmos is folded up within you. It actually starts by saying, he says, your cure is already in you. The cure for whatever disease, whatever illness you're facing, it's already within you, but you don't know it. And your illness is from you, but you don't see it. The cure that you're seeking is already within you. And this is very profound at so many levels. There, in traditional Muslim medicine and traditional Chinese medicine and other in Ayurvedic medicine, the goal of the doctor, the goal of the physician is not to manage your sickness, not to mask the symptoms of your sickness, and not to attack whatever the malady is, but rather their primary responsibility is to remove the obstacles that stand in the way of your body healing itself, becoming a means of healing. And so they look at ways, the physicians in these other traditions, they look at ways of assisting the body and performing its innate ability to heal. Now, this is would be revolutionary if Western allopathic conventional medicine also adopted this approach. This is not just for the healing of the body, but it's also for the healing of the mind and the healing of the soul. He says, you think you're nothing. You think you're nothing and insignificant. No, on the contrary, you have the entire universe folded up within you. Rumi says something similar in other places in his Mesnawi, his spiritual couplets, that you are not a drop in an ocean. Rather, you are the entire ocean in one drop. So know, brothers and sisters, that you are something great. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, exalted and transcendent is He. The divine teaches us in the Quran, tells us in the Quran in so many ways that we are in a marvelous, grand creation. The human species is really the center point of the universe, because all of the universe is contained within us in so many different ways. The stuff of the stars is in us. The elements that make up the stars is in us. The elements that are in the earth are in us. All of the elements, the elements of fire and water and air and earth that the cosmos is made up of are all in us. We discussed already how the qualities of the animals, all the animals, every animal species represents a quality, an energy that is within you and me. Every angel represents a quality that's within you and me. And so on for the jinn as well. We are a composite of the energies of everything that's in the universe, everything that's in the heavens and the earth. And that is why you and I have been chosen by Allah to potentially be His vicegerents, His representatives, His trustees on the earth. It is only because we actually contain what is in the universe, within our souls, within our hearts, within our bodies, within our minds, within our intellects. But what keeps us from knowing this? So you can hear me say this, you can read Rumi and so many other spiritual masters, not just from the Muslim tradition. There's spiritual masters in other traditions that say the same truth. Say the same truth. that say the same truth. But what is keeping us from experiencing and from realizing this incredible reality? Rumi says that it is only our desires, our attachment to desires. It's only our worldly desires, desires that do not transcend this physical realm. It is only our preoccupations, our busyness, our preoccupations from what? From the divine, from God, from the Creator. It is only our schemes and our plots that prevent us, my dear brothers and sisters, my friends, from realizing this for ourselves. There's a saying from Prophet Muhammad, God bless him and grant him peace. He said that if it was not for the devils, these fire, beings of fire, and again, fire represents desire. These, we call them in Arabic, jinn. But these are not just jinn, these are shayateen. He describes them as satans. And as I said before, the word Satan in Arabic means a being that is distant from the divine presence, distant from the mercy, from the love, from the compassion of God. That's what the word Satan means. And you can have a Satan that's a jinn, that's one of these invisible beings, or you can have a Satan that's human. Right. But what defines a Satan as a Satan is someone who's distant from the presence of God. May God protect us. Right? Shatana means to be distant. Ba'uda, it means to be distant from God. And so he said, Lola shayatina yahumun ala qulubi bani Adam lanadaru ila malakut as-samawati wal ard. If it wasn't for the devils that surround, that encircle the hearts of the children of Adam, peace and blessings be upon him, our father, our ancestor, in a sense, our father and our mother, in a sense, our ancestor Adam, peace and blessings be upon the original human being who received the original instructions on how to live lives of power and beauty on this planet, of health and happiness and holiness on this planet. We would be able, if it wasn't for the devils encircling the hearts of the human being, they would have been able to gaze upon the inner realities, the spiritual realities of the heavens and the earth. So this is what Rumi is telling us. But he says, even though we have our schemes and our worldly desires and our distractions that distract us from the divine self, right? From God himself, and distraction from God distracts you from your highest self. Man arrafa nafsahu arrafa rabbahu. The great spiritual masters of the Muslim tradition always teach that the one who knows himself or herself knows God. That the path to knowing God begins with knowing yourself. And ultimately, you start with knowing the lower self, and then you know the highest self. And knowing the highest self leads to knowledge of Allah, knowledge of the Creator. He gives an example of how the different professions, the different vocations that human beings practice, whether it be goldsmithing or farming or astronomy or medicine or carpentry, that all of these knowledges are already innate within the human being. And they're developed through inspiration, through the spirit. The word inspire means that which is connected to spirit, that which is related to the spirit. Even the story in the Quran of how Cain, who murdered his brother, the first human being to murder another human being, after he had murdered his brother Abel, peace be upon him, he was ignorant of what to do with the corpse of his brother. And so God sent a raven, sent this bird to teach him through the bird's digging and scratching in the earth that what he needs to do with the body of his blessed brother Abel is to bury it. But what Rumi is telling us is that it's not, don't think that the raven was teaching Cain, but the raven was responding to the need of Cain. And so this is knowledge that was already inside Cain, but it needed to be manifest. It needed to be manifest in order for him to learn. So he was learning through a part of him, through the raven, not necessarily from the raven. He was learning from God himself, who was teaching him through the raven. And how many animals are waiting to respond to us right now, brothers and sisters? How many animals, how many creatures that we may consider to be without intelligence or without benefit, or that are just here for us to exploit, we might think, that can teach us, be a means for us learning and avoiding so much harm and attaining so much benefit if we would just learn to listen, if we would just learn to observe. How many times do people report that right before some natural disaster, so-called natural disaster, the animals disappear? But you need to observe, you need to watch, you need to listen, you need to go out of your house and what are the birds doing today? You know, what are the trees doing today? And you know, and develop, cultivate a relationship with them. Towards the end of a fascinating discourse, Rumi reminds us that the human soul contains universal knowledge. Dr. Muhammad Isa Wali, may Allah have mercy upon him, may God have mercy upon him, says, despite appearances, every human being is a microcosm, a universe in miniature. Listen to this, brothers and sisters. This is wonderful news. Every human being, regardless of what their religion may be, regardless of whether they are male or female, young or old, regardless of whether they are able-bodied or whether they are physically challenged in some way or mentally challenged in some way, every human being is a microcosm of the entire universe. They have within them an ocean of compassion and knowledge that just needs the right key for it to be unlocked. The Quran tells us that the first man and prophet, Adam, peace be upon him, was taught the names of all things. The name of anything in primordial language reflects its fundamental meaning and essential nature beyond time. Without the requisite knowledge present within them, how could the children of Adam, at the beginning of their story, have testified to the divine lordship by themselves and on the basis of knowledge? It was already there. That knowledge was given to them. Maulana Rumi, our master Rumi, cites the wide variety of trades and professions as examples of human knowledge and learned skills. One of the implications of this is that whatever may be the outward process involved, every kind of learning is a form of discovery, or what Greek sages call anamnesis, unforgetting. This is a very important point, especially for those of you involved in education, the education of students or the education of your children or grandchildren. It's what the Greek sages call anamnesis or unforgetting, anamnesis within the soul. So what education, true tarbiyah, as we say in Arabic, true ta'lim, is the process of remembering what you already knew, of remembering what you already knew. How many times does God ask us in the Quran, do they not remember? Do they not remember? أَفَلَا يَتَذَكَّرُونَ? Do they not remember? It's this remembering that is one of the greatest benefits of the spiritual path, to remember who you really are, to remember who God truly is. So in this sense, brothers and sisters, Islam, religion, is not something that you have to go out and get and learn and then put inside you, but rather it's remembering something that you already have inside you. It's a very different idea than how we're commonly taught Islam, how we're commonly taught religion, that we have to go somewhere and pay someone lots of money so that I can be an educated person. What Rumi is telling us is that the ocean that's inside of you is an ocean that you just have to remember. Now, there's a process to remembering, but that process is something that every human being can attain. As enlightened educators often remark, the original meaning of education is to bring something out. The original meaning of the Greek word means to bring something out the way a midwife helps to bring out a baby that's born. That's the true job of the teacher, not as many Western and Eastern educational institutions today. The job of the teacher is not to force information, force so-called knowledge into the students, and then test them on how well they can, regurgitate the knowledge. But true knowledge, true teaching is to help the child, help the student, help the adult discover what they already know. The privilege of being by fitrah, that primordial nature, that innocent nature, Homo sapiens, distinguished from other creatures by the modalities and the extent of human knowledge, also carries responsibilities. God Most High swears by the human soul and its creator that those who cultivate their souls will prosper, and those who bury them beneath darkness and veils are doomed to utter failure. And this is in the Sun Surah, where God says in the Quran, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا, that the one who cultivates, who purifies their soul has succeeded, but the one who buries it underneath veils and buries it and stifles it and neglects it is destroyed. The human microcosm. So we'll open up, we'll just for about 5 minutes for any questions and comments before we close, inshallah ta'ala. There's a, mashallah, thank you, brother Sajid. There's an announcement here. Please join us, salam, wa alaikum salam. Please join us this evening, God willing, at 6:30 p.m. for the first part of a 3-part series by Abdurrahman Malik from Yale Divinity College on the Conference of the Birds by Fariduddin Attar. Yeah, that's an incredible book on spirituality. It really complements what we're learning here from Imam Rumi. If you're not familiar with the Conference of the Birds, it is a story, it's a tale of a group of birds that are on a quest, on a spiritual quest to meet the king bird, right? And it tells about how each one must overcome certain aspects of themselves in order to make the journey, and all of them don't arrive, and some do, and they have a very, very skilled guide and experienced guide guiding them. And when they arrive at their goal, which is a metaphor for arriving at the presence of God, uh, that is an incredible, incredible, incredible um, na- narration. So I encourage you all to join us for that. You will learn so much about how to attain what Rumi is talking about in this book by listening to my friend and my brother Abdurrahman Malik talk about the Conference of the Birds. He also has, if you're interested, Abdurrahman also has an award-winning BBC documentary called The Muhammadan Bean, on the history of Islam and coffee. It's 30, 40 minutes, and you can find it online. I encourage you to watch it. It will expand your mind and give you a deeper appreciation for coffee, for qahwa. Salam, wa alaikum salam. Are the desires not put in us by our Creator? Yes, the desires are put in us by our Creator, but we also have the responsibility of number one, channeling those desires in a manner that is positive, in a manner that is beneficial for ourselves, for our families, and for our communities, and ultimately channeling those desires in a way that enables us to unleash the spiritual power and the intellectual power and beauty that's within us as human beings. And so each desire has a spectrum. Imam al-Ghazali and Imam Rumi talk about this, that, for example, eating, right? You can eat too much, which causes, in fulfilling the desire of hunger, the desire for food. And eating too much leads to disease, leads to pain, leads to suffering. Eating too little, right? Not fulfilling that desire also leads to pain, leads to suffering, leads to disease. But eating a moderate amount, of course, that's nutritious, results in balance and equilibrium and happiness and so much that is good for you and the community. And so every desire is like this. So Sister Zainab, that is what's intended, that yes, we have these desires, and these desires are meant to be a blessing to us and a help to us, not a curse. But in order for our desires to be a help to us, we must channel them, we must discipline them, we must make sure that those desires don't rule us, but rather we master the desires, that the desires are not our master, but rather we are the master of our desires. And that is a big part of what this month of Ramadan is about. The restraining, the disciplining of our desires, mastering our desires. For example, last night, I remember I after Taraweeh, we prayed Taraweeh at home, and I was a little hungry and I wanted a snack, and I was like, nah, no snack. I'm just gonna wait till iftar. Now, if I'm, if you're hypoglycemic, or if you're diabetic, or if you're a pregnant mother, or you're nursing, and you're fasting, or what, if you have a particular health condition where you do need to eat, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But if and I know for myself, I don't need to have another snack, right? A midnight snack, right? And this is Ramadan, and so it's important to to restrain those desires, even when they might be very strong. And so, alhamdulillah, Allah gave me victory last night over my desires, and I pray that God continues to give me and you such victories. throughout in this Ramadan and throughout our days and nights. Bismillah. Let's see. Okay, here we go. How does one help to ensure, as they uncover what they know, that it is divine truth versus misguidance? So the way you do this is by always measuring and weighing what you discover on your spiritual journey with the guidance of the Quran, the sacred, the divine guidance of the Quran, and with the authentic and multiply transmitted narrations of the last of the prophets and messengers sent with scripture and divine legislation, Muhammad. Also, weighing whatever you're discovering on your spiritual journey against the consensus of the companions who were around Muhammad, their unanimous consensus. And this is based on the definition of the great scholar Sheikh Ahmed ibn Idris, which I favor. And lastly, the great Imam Uthman ibn Fodio said that the fourth measure of what is truth after the Quran and after the path of Muhammad, God bless him and grant him peace, and unanimous consensus of the scholars, and I'm adding of the companions, is sound logic, sound reason. And so those four will save you from the traps of the ego that inevitably come along the journey, along the path. Yeah, and yes. How do we join? Please put the link. So, Sister Noor, in order to join, just go to our website, themuslimcenter.org, themuslimcenter.org, and go to the Ramadan page. If you scroll down, you'll see a link that says Ramadan page. All of the links are on that page, inshallah. You can also find them on our Facebook page, Muslim Center Greater Princeton. Arya, wa alaikum salam, jazakumullah khairan wa iyyakum, for this beautiful reflection. I'm wondering if we will delve more into applicable steps in the process of remembering what we already knew. Yes, we will. But this first 10 days of Ramadan, I'm going to focus on who we are. Who are we? All right. Once you get a better understanding of who you are as a human being, that you're not just an animal, as logicians say, even some Muslim logicians and Muslim philosophers say, al-insan hayawanun natiq, that the human is a speaking animal, right? Or a reasoning animal, you could even translate it. You're so much more than that. And this is the message of Imam Rumi, Rumi. Once you understand that you're more than just, a biologically determined waves and particles, that a lot of scientists, not every scientist, but what comes out of the academy, right? The prevailing idea of what a human being is. It's a very mechanistic kind of Newtonian idea that, we're just, at the very least, we're just machines, right? At best, we're animals. And so you can't really expect much from human beings. And if you study them enough, you study their psychology enough, you can control them, you can manipulate them, sometimes for their benefit, sometimes to their own detriment. But always, it seems always in in our current circumstances, always for the economic and political benefit of a few elites. And what you're learning, what you will be learning from Rumi, what you'll be learning from Fariduddin Attar and Imam Ghazali and the works of other spiritual masters, Imam Ahmed Bamba and Uthman bin Fodio and others, is how to unplug from the matrix, so to speak, right? If you just stay, you know that those of you who maybe watched the Matrix movie, you remember that scene where I forget the guy's name, but you know he knows that the Matrix is all an illusion, but his desires, he wants to eat steak, right? He wants ice cream, and in Zion, in the real world, there's no steak, there's no ice cream, so he would rather be a slave to the machines. He would rather be used by the machines so that he can have the experience, this illusionary experience of eating steak and ice cream, than live in the reality of Zion with the kind of like, you know, mush that they were eating, right? So, and that's a great metaphor for the world we live in today, right? Yeah, but the reality is, and I don't know if the Matrix, I think maybe it did capture this, but when you unplug, when you actually discipline your desires, you unplug from your desires, what God does generally is He'll give you something in replace of the steak and the ice cream. Rumi calls it spiritual food. And that spiritual food actually tastes better and is more delicious than that T-bone steak or that butter pecan ice cream drizzled with caramel that, you know, I'm sorry, I know it's Ramadan, but I'm just just giving an example, right? It actually tastes better. It's more intense and is more delicious. And he says in his other lines of poetry that you give up, you know, food and drink that's physical in Ramadan so that you can receive a table spread from the heavens and you'll be filled with spiritual food. And so hopefully, yes, so the answer is yes, we will, inshallah. And which text would you recommend for deeper spiritual tafsir of the Quran, which brings about introspection? There's a partial translation of The Immense Ocean. It's called The Immense Ocean by Ahmed ibn Ajiba, The Immense Ocean. That's a good start. It's a partial translation of a larger work, a multi-volume work, which is an encyclopedic commentary on the entire Quran by the great Moroccan scholar, Sheikh Ahmed ibn Ajiba, God have mercy upon him. And for each, listen to this, for each verse of the Quran, for each ayah of the Quran, he not only gives you the conventional scholarly commentary, but of course, because he came later on in the 1800s, he's giving you a distillation of all the things that different scholars have said the 1300 years before him, right? So that's a great benefit of his work. But secondly, he gives you a spiritual insight, deep spiritual insight into each ayah of the Quran. Also, the works of Imam Fode Drame, who many of you know, gives a very contemporary spiritual commentary on the Quran. And so his books and his workshops and his online courses will take you down the rabbit's hole, really. I mean, I've never seen or heard anything like it. And so, yeah, if you like deep sea diving, then I encourage you to go and sign up for one of Imam Fode's workshops. And you will discover tremendous pearls and treasures from the Quran. And let's see, Sajid, yes, okay, Brother Sajid recommended to sign up for our text message service by sending a text message to 33222 and just type MCGP. Again, you can text 33222 and text the letters MCGP to get alerts with all of the links and, you know, the URLs. Walaikum salam. Sarita, could you kindly share the title of the book by Rumi that you're reading? Thank you so much. Yes, it's called A Treasury of Rumi. That's the book, and it's translated with commentary and notes by our dear brother, Dr. Muhammad Isa Wali. Dr. Muhammad Isa Wali is an English Muslim who used to work at the British Library and, you know, has been working on Persian and Turkish manuscripts for almost 50 years. I mean, he's an amazing person. He's an expert on Persian and Turkish manuscripts. And mashallah, a beautiful human being as well. I've met him a few times, and he's just, you know, he and his wife, Sister Fatima, just, may Allah preserve them. They're incredible people. He actually gifted me. He actually gifted me a copy of this, and mashallah. So I was very, very thankful. And let's see, where's the Zoom link for the Sisters Halaqah? Again, you can find the Sisters Halaqah, Quran Halaqah. All of that's on our website. It's all on our website. Sajid said we cannot get that going at this time. Okay. I thought we were still having that. I guess not. Okay, Brother Tariq, salam, wa alaikum salam. Thank you for this enriched reflection on Sheikh Rumi's teachings. May Allah reward you. What was your inspiration to do this? Of course, spirituality is a big aspect of it, we can assume, but what else? This approach is so unique and something we've never done before. So Jazakallah khairan, alhamdulillah. The inspiration came from a few things that happened in my life, and I don't want to go into detail because, you know, this is public, very public. But yeah, a few things happened in my life, and a couple dreams that I had as well, so those dreams were really what I needed. I guess the sign I was looking for to go forward with this. And then some, I guess you would call them coincidences that also happen around this particular work, around this particular book. And and I was blessed to go to Konya a few years ago in Turkey with my wife when she was pregnant with our sixth child. Yes, sixth child. And so that was also like very, that was a kind of a very significant experience. And so this is part of what of the work that I do, inshallah ta'ala. We ask Allah ta'ala to accept, and please ask Allah to give me sincerity and to help me and to assist me in doing this. It's a huge responsibility, and I'm not qualified. And I want to say that I'm not qualified. But we hear and we obey, right? So that's inshallah. Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for these beautiful reflections on the works of such masters as Sheikh Rumi. It will be a privilege to hear your explanation and commentary of Mirat al-Arifin. Inshallah, someday, inshallah. I've read so much about how the Imam Hussein expands upon the notion of Wahdat al-Wujud. I would really love to understand it. Are there any translations and tafsirs of this book that you recommend? Wahdat al-Wujud, or the oneness of being, is it's really something that is it's better experienced than understood. But there are books Maybe if you email me, contact me directly, I can share some things with you. um, Allah bless you. Alhamdulillah. I mean, mashallah. Thank you all for your du'as. And here we go. Is there an online PDF for the book? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. You know, mashallah. Alhamdulillah. Tahir, bye. Mashallah. Thank you for your dua. I was eating figs soaked in olive oil this morning, and I was thinking of you, Tahir, bye. So, alhamdulillah. We'll stop there, brothers and sisters. Just a reminder, every evening at 9 o'clock, our beloved, respected Sheikh Ismail Isa, who is a master reciter of the Quran, teacher of the Quran. He recites the entire juz of Quran, and so you can join us for that. After that, I share some what I call juz gems, some gems from the juz, lessons, you know, that we can take homes from the juz. So you can join us for that at 9 p.m. if you're able. May Allah bless all of you. Inshallah, I'm going to make a short dua. Yes, that someone's father is in the hospital, COVID-19. Bismillah. Mufti Shaban, mashallah. Yeah. Shaban Khoja, yeah, mashallah. With you. So, okay, there's a few people who asked me to connect with me. If you just are patient, I will just send you my email in the chat after the dua, inshallah. So, Andrew, and who else was that? Irfan, yes, Andrew and Irfan. If you just hold on for a moment or two, I'll send you my email. It's 6:22 here on the East Coast, and so it is duha time for the forenoon prayer. So I encourage all of you, if you're able, to pray at least two cycles of prayer, 2 rak'ah, or up to 12 rak'ah if you can. It's a great prayer. It connects you with tremendous mercy. It's a protection from the jinn, from shayateen. It facilitates your livelihood, your sustenance. And it's, at the very minimum, it's a means for the charity that's due on every part of your body every day. It suffices for that. And there's so many other blessings to praying the duha prayer, or what's also called salat al-ishraq, the prayer of the first light of day. And so that's in. And that prayer, like all prayers during the day, is said silently. It's said quietly, rather. You do move your lips and you move your tongue, but you do so quietly. The loudest you should recite is just enough that you can hear it, or someone standing right next to you, but not louder than that. The prayers that we do during the night, those are done out loud. Those are recited out loud, inshallah. So we'll close with a short prayer. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا متقبلا يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم اشفي إمامنا وأخانا سحيب سلطان. اللهم اشفيه شفاء تاما عاجلا. رب أذهب البأس رب الناس اشفيه واشفيه إنك أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاؤك. اللهم اشفيه شفاء عاجلا تاما لا يغادر سقما ولا ألم يا شافي يا كافي يا معافي. Oh Allah, we ask that you bless and give and that you give health to our brother Imam Suhaib Sultan. Oh Allah, we ask that you bless his family. Allah, I ask that you bless all of the brothers and all the sisters that are listening or watching this video now and into the future. Ya Allah, let this video, let this class be a means by which people draw near to you and discover the treasure that you've placed within them, Ya Allah, that a means by which they become selfless, compassionate servants of humanity and of your creatures, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask that you increase us in knowledge and that you guide us to healing, Ya Allah. We pray for the father of our beloved who has COVID-19. We ask that you give him healing, Ya Allah. Give him complete and quick healing, Ya Allah, through your beautiful names. We pray for all of those, Ya Allah, who are sick, Ya Allah, with COVID-19 and other diseases. Oh Allah, we pray for your protection from disease. You are the Lord of every microbe, of every virus, of every bacteria. Ya Allah, you are the creator of illnesses and you are the creator of the medicine and the cures. So we ask you, Ya Allah, for your cures, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.